thank you very much, uh, Exhibitions India Group, for giving us this opportunity. Before we begin formally, I would also like to invite Mr. Sujoy Ghosh, the head of India and APAC for First Solar, to join me on the stage for the report launch. Ladies and gentlemen, though this is the last session of today's Solar India Expo, I am promising you that this is not going to be the... though this is the last session, I am sure this will be the most informative session so far. India has made rapid strides when it comes to solar energy proliferation. And while we talk about installation, it is equally important to talk about PV waste management. And with the help of the EU mission in India, the EU-India Technical Cooperation Program, NSEFI, that is the National Solar Energy Federation of India, PV Cycle, and Solar Power Europe have co-authored a report on the way forward for PV management in India. This comes at an interesting juncture at the background of India predicted to be the second largest PV waste market by 2050. When we have a 30-year trajectory of managing our waste, it is imperative to have a cohesive and inclusive policy for PV waste manufacturing in India. And I'm very happy that under the guidance of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy at NSEFI, we, in cooperation with the PV Cycle and Solar Power Europe, we have co-authored this report. But we didn't stop at the report. We are also now starting our series of interactive sessions with stakeholders to frame the guidelines that will be submitted to the Ministry for PV Waste Management. So without much ado, I would now first like to request Shri Dinesh Jagdale ji, Joint Secretary, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, to deliver his welcome and keynote remarks, after which we will have His Excellency Ambassador address the session, after which we will have the virtual inauguration of the report. Jagdale sir, over to you.
Thank you. I hope I am audible and you are able to hear me.
Yes sir, we can hear you and see you perfectly.
Thank you. That's great. I think this is first of its kind where we are having a hybrid event where I am actually virtually reaching out to you. So thank you for accommodating this. So His Excellency Ambassador of European Union to India, my colleagues, friends, panelists, entrepreneurs, developers, and all those who have joined this virtually and physically, a very good afternoon to you all. The way we are now really looking at the entire renewable energy sector, it's for the next decade. It's called the decade of action, and India has been championing globally at various fronts, and including at the United Nations, where India has been chosen to be championing the cause of energy transition. So our target of 175 gigawatt, as you must have deliberated over the 2 days, we have taken a lot of steps. Then the maximum share out of this target is being solar. And as we move forward towards the higher target, or by the end of the decade of 450 gigawatts, we all are aware that solar PV is going to take maximum share out of all this. And therefore, it is evident and imminent that it's a very high time that industry, ministry, and all the researchers come together to really address the issue of waste that is going to come out of this enormous installations that we are going to have. Obviously, what solar has done today is, one is the declining cost, the improved performance, and the facility policy regime that has been there during last several years. This has helped for the expansion of renewable energy into the electricity grid of India. And therefore, when we were at around close to 3-4 megawatts in 2009-10, when we are now in 2021, we have reached a capacity of close to 40 gigawatt of commission capacity of solar. So that's a tremendous improvement that we have seen over the last decade. And the next decade is going to see even more accelerated growth in this sector. And that is where I think the time has come. And it is the appropriate time when India, EU together jointly collaborated to come out with a report that's PV Waste Management of India in India, which also talks about the comparative analysis of states of various countries and how European Union derived their policy programs about and recommendations that they have given in this report. It's also evident that EU, especially the countries in Europe, have learned from the various regulatory provisions that made, and that's a bonus boon for us because we are able to now look at what went wrong, what went correct, what was correct. And therefore, this report that you just mentioned, that you are going to now not only launch this, but you are going to go and have a series of discussions with various stakeholders to bring out a comprehensive policy. And we will definitely contribute to that effect. Ministry of Environment, and you, as you were there in one of the meetings that we had, and we deliberated on this report and saw a way forward. Ministry of Environment has already started discussions on this. Some kind of stakeholder consultations have been already started to see what kind of interventions are required in the current policy practices that we have to accommodate all kinds of waste that is generated, including the balance of plant of in a project, in a solar PV project. So there is an issue of there are various kinds of metals that come out, various kinds of glass, plastics, polymers, and obviously it has its own content that needs to be addressed in an environmentally friendly way. So your report, as well as the study that are going to take us to be done in next couple of months ahead, will definitely bring out and show a pathway about how to tackle this PV waste that will be generated. So it has been a good effort. I thank the European Union and obviously His Excellency the Ambassador to really come out today and obviously partner with us on this very important task. I'm sure the important interventions that the developers, manufacturers, and the association together will bring into this aspect of addressing the waste will be welcomed by all ministries, including my Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. So with this, I wish you all the best and congratulate the entire team for bringing out this report on this day. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir, for your support and also for your kind words. Ministry's cooperation has been something that we have to particularly mention. Talking about experience from NSEFI as well as Solar Power Europe, my colleague Mate, and PV Cycle Jan Clynke, we got more than what we thought the support from the ministry, and we hope that in the next 2 months we will also come back to you with concrete and significant policy steps for handling PV waste. Without much ado, I would now like to invite His Excellency Ugo Astuto, Honorable Ambassador of European Union to India, to deliver the chief guest remarks. His Excellency Ugo Astuto entered the Italian diplomatic service in 1991. He is a career Italian Foreign Service officer with experience in embassies in Nairobi, London, also as an alternate director for Italy in EBRD, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, in the permanent representation in Brussels, and now in the Embassy of Delhi. From 2013 February until 2016 July, he was seconded to the European External Action Services in Brussels, first as Director for South and Southeast Asia, and then as Deputy Managing Director or Director for Asia and the Pacific. From 2016 July to 2019 September, he was the Principal Director for Asia in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Rome. He is now the present Ambassador of European Union to India since October 20. His Excellency, Ugo Astuto, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Secretary, dear participants, thank you for having me at this event. It's a pleasure for me to participate in the launch of the new report on PV waste management in India, which has been developed in a cooperative venture by the EU-India Technical Cooperation Project together with Solar Power Europe, PV Cycle, and the National Solar Energy Federation of India. Now, the report compares the EU and the Indian regulatory frameworks for managing end-of-life solar panels. It assesses the PV waste market and the processing capacities in India and tries to make recommendations for the follow-up. Now, as the Joint Secretary said earlier, India, but also the EU, we do have very ambitious targets for renewable energy, including solar energy. And by 2022, India aims at installing 60 gigawatt of ground solar systems and 40 gigawatt of rooftop solar. So by 2030, India is targeting a total installed renewable energy capacity of 450 gigawatts. That's very impressive indeed. But this also implies a lot of industrial waste to manage and to recycle. As a solar PV modules generally last 25 to 30 years, sometimes even more, the waste stream is currently not yet that significant, but it is bound to surge once the first generation panels come to the end of their life cycle. So it's necessary that responsible producers and installers do already shape a strategy now to anticipate and minimize the waste and to recover the high value materials contained in the PV panels. So this will help reducing the import dependency for raw materials, and process innovation will reduce primary demand on resources, as well all the associated processes such as mining, transport, and the corresponding greenhouse gas emissions. So this report in practice tries to address simultaneously the three major planetary challenges of our times: is the fight against climate change by reducing emissions, the sustainable use of resources, and the transition to clean energy. So it fits very well with the vision of the European Green Deal, which we have developed in the European Union. It is today our growth strategy, a growth strategy which aims at transforming the European Union into a resource-efficient, carbon neutral, toxic-free, and competitive economy. And in doing this, we want to be in close partnership with our like-minded friends around the world, and notably India. This year, during the COVID crisis, we have realized more than ever that we need to work together. As the international community needs to come together to better address and anticipate global challenges. We believe that the policy we put in place now should build back better, as the UN Secretary General recently said, which means that our infrastructure, agriculture, industry, our investments, and our energy sector need to be geared, need to be set in the path towards greener, smarter, more digital, resilient, but also inclusive solutions, leaving no one behind. So we in the European Union, we believe that there is no trade-off between economic growth and the environment. We consider sustainability-driven investments to be a more reliable source of growth and of jobs. Investments into high-emission industries and environmentally harmful activities will only lead to more environmental degradation, to higher costs, and in the end to social conflict. No government can tackle these issues alone. No government can address the current epidemic alone. And the same is true for climate change and biodiversity loss. So the European Union is very keen to further pursue and enhance our very good cooperation with the government of India. So let me thank here to the Ministry for Solar Resources for its continued cooperation and support. We all need to work together, and I believe that the European Union and India are natural partners to do so. So let me conclude here, and I trust that this report, the report we are about to launch in a minute, will also contribute to further this cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. With this, since we are in a hybrid mode and modern problems require modern solutions, I would like all of us to virtually launch this report. With me, I have Mr. Sujoy Ghosh also from the First Solar. He is the country head of First Solar. We have His Excellency Hugo Astuto, Ambassador of European Union to India, Shri Dinesh Jagdale, Joint Secretary of MNRE, Mr. Heisz, Director International Affairs, Solapur Europe, and Jan Clynke from PV Cycle. So I would request all of you to kindly virtually launch the report for our audience. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you very much, Jagdale sir, for your kind presence. With this, now we move on to an interesting sort of juncture where we have, apart from me, we have three other co-authors of this report, and I'm very happy that they are with us today. Uh, to begin with, I would like to invite Mr. Jan Clynke, the Managing Director of PV Cycle. He joined PV Cycle as Managing Director in 2008, April 1st. He has a vast experience in setting up of voluntary and mandatory take-back schemes in Belgium and Netherlands in household and industrial packaging waste, tire waste, vegetable oil and fat waste, waste on electrical and electronic equipment, empty paint in waste, and other petrochemical waste. He has been instrumental in guiding us throughout this report, and we are very happy that we are a little bit sad that he didn't join us physically, but we are very happy that he is with us virtually. Jan will take us through the key aspects of the report and the findings that this cooperation concluded in the course of making this report. Jan, over to you. I think, Jan, you can share the screen and we will all see your screen from here.
Thank you, Subbu, for the kind introduction. Sharing the screen, this bottom, it does not work.
Yes, Jan, I can see your screen. You can go ahead.
Okay, good. Thank you, Subbu. Thank you for the kind introduction. Very briefly, because I only have 10 minutes, but I will just highlight a little bit the possible business solutions for PV waste management in India, and then also some conclusions, but mainly recommendations. So that's really one-on-one extracted from the report. And I immediately, without further ado, immediately start with the possible business models. And it's quite straightforward. You have three options. We can do business as usual. That's the current status quo. I would say which is not preferred. And a second option is adding an important element immediately on top of it, a landfill ban for PV panels. Might also be for other products. But that's an option, so we call it business as usual plus. And then a third option is the extended producer responsibility scenario, whereby we, on top on the landfill ban, we also impose a producer responsibility towards the management of the products put on the market and the end of life management of these products. A bit more in detail without going too much into detail, but you see it here a bit in an overview. And with the several main topics, it's about legal responsibility, financing, the waste, not only the waste of today, but also waste in the future, waste of the past, the historical PV already installed in India, the chapter on landfill ban, waste control and monitoring, and overall waste management. If you match these with the three scenarios, you see in the business as usual, I would say not much will happen, or at least the result will be quite poor. In the business as usual plus, with the landfill ban imposed, it already helps, and also you can there introduce waste control and monitoring by the Indian State Pollution Control Board. But as you see, with the extended producer responsibility, you can really go to the last mile, putting also the responsibility to those who are putting for the first time a PV panel on the Indian territory. You can also organize properly and also fair, that you also have a level playing field for all players in the market, a financing program in place. You also have, of course, you can have, and you still have the landfill ban, you still have the State Pollution Control Board, also active in this, and also in good conjunction with what we call a PRO, so that's a producer responsibility organization. And overall, the waste management level will be very high, because you have a clear set of plans in not only financial plan, communication plan, operations plan, and the like. So in conclusion a little bit, EPR is our recommended approach for the Indian context, as it constitutes really the most effective means to perform a sound PV panel waste management program. And we can go then in details, which I also want to avoid, but you see here just one picture on if you again have the three options and you then can go into the details, and that's part of the next step. In fact, what are really the extended producer responsibility scheme options, which kind of instruments you want to do it. Of course, you have to take back the products, but then also mainly the economic instruments. That's an important one. Will you pre-finance things? Will you only finance things when they are put on the market, or will you, for instance, work with a tax? Or that's all open. Performance standards, it's also an important item. And then, of course, you might also need supporting measures from the government as well. The same thing about the financing. As I said, you can really show what is the cost on an invoice, and that everybody is aware that's what I have paid for. And it also allows me to drop my PV panels free of charge when they become waste, or you can internalize the costs into the product. And then you have on top maybe additional financing options. In order to respect the time as well a little bit, I come to the conclusions and the recommendations of the report. So the conclusions for us as authors, and I speak on behalf of all the authors of the report, we recommend the extended producer responsibility approach as the best one for the Indian context. Of course, respecting also the Indian context. That's different than, for instance, the European context. There are several EPR policy instruments, as I just explained a little bit. There we clearly need to define also as industry, Indian industry, what is the best ones for the Indian context. Important as well will be to allocate the physical and financial responsibility among all stakeholders. And a fourth important element also is we manage very carefully free rider behavior. So companies who are not willing to comply with any take back program. And of course, the decisions on the funding, the financing part is an important element as well and is crucial. In the short term, recommendations in the short term, and now I'm coming to the really end of my presentation. The short term recommendations we have would be good to have imposing a landfill ban on PV panels. Then at least you are closing immediately the cheapest route to get rid of your waste, and in some cases also in an uncontrolled manner. Second point, implement a legislative framework for a mandatory extended producer responsibility system. Of course, there also Subbu and his team is willing to give a first draft text and help on this point as well. I think it's very important that we do this in conjunction, industry and authorities. And on the other hand, third recommendation, short term, is to create a self-standing EPR legislation for PV panels separately from the e-waste rules which already exist in India, because PV is a complete different product than classical electronic waste like smartphones, TV stands and washing machines. And of course, a fourth important thing is to allow the Indian PV industry to propose a sustainable and long-term solution for the PV waste which will be generated in the future. And then medium and long-term recommendations are to develop a sustainable product policy for PV panels, inverters as well, as they also consist of a PV system, and eventually maybe other products which are inherent to a PV system. These sustainable product policies could be eco-design, eco-label, and on this point as well, this is currently on the table in Europe. So I would say nobody is running behind here on this planet. Also in Europe, this is now currently a hot topic. Consider also including sustainability criteria in the national renewable energy options. That would be also a great thing if this could be implemented on the midterm. And then, of course, it's important to, on a periodical level, reassess the rules on PV waste treatment, recycling, to follow also the pace of the sector. Will be important because today there is not that much waste, and in one also sees in the waste management that things are optimized when there is also more volume. So when there is no volume, things are happening on a small scale based, and it's much more interesting when you can optimize things on an industrial scale basis when you have lots of waste and products to bring into the circular economy. And then, of course, a last point is also to continuing setting up joint EU-India Horizon 2020 calls, for instance, regarding research and development on PV recycling technology. Thank you for your attention. Subbu, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jan. I would also like to specially thank you and acknowledge your contribution even on behalf of Chairman Mehta and also all of us at NSEFI for your support. And I'm sure without the involvement, your involvement and your support, this report would not have been reality. Thank you very much, Jan.
Thank you, Subbu.
Now we have another good friend of both India and as well as NSEFI, and my very, very good friend, Mr. Heisz. He is now the Director of International Affairs and Cooperation at Solar Power Europe. He is in charge of Solar Power Europe's partnerships and cooperation activities with global organizations and partners in overseas and emerging markets. He represents the association in different global fora, including IRENA Coalition for Action and Global Solar Council. And I would like to specifically mention here that he is now the new chair-elect of Global Solar Council, and he'll take over as the chair of Global Solar Council in 2023. We are very happy that he is going to take the helm of Global Solar Council. He also leads Solar Power Europe's emerging markets work stream and life cycle quality work stream, and oversees the association's international cooperation and research projects. But before joining Solar Power Europe, in 2017, he spent 4 years in Tunisia working as an advisor of renewable energy at Tunisian Ministry of Energy on behalf of GIZ. He holds a master's degree from the University of Berlin in international relations and in economics from Corvinus University, Budapest. Mate, the floor is all yours. You can go ahead.
Thank you very much, Subbu, for the kind words, and it is really my pleasure to be here this morning, today, and let me just start with a brief anecdote. I'm actually also, just like you said, I'm also a little sad that I cannot be there in person, because I remember that it was also exactly 1 year ago that we met in person on the occasion of the launch of another report produced jointly by NSEFI and Solar Power Europe, and I must say that was my last business trip before the COVID-19 lockdowns, and I still cherish it as a very nice memory. So I would have really loved to be there in person today, but I can't. Having said that, I really hope that we will have the possibility to meet physically again this year. Very optimistic about the vaccination programs, and I mean, we both know that NSEFI and Solar Power Europe still have a lot of joint activities in the pipeline. Let me just briefly highlight all this. So I would like to start with recalling all the intense cooperation activities between Solar Power Europe and NSEFI, and then I'll also have a look at recycling, PV waste management, and PV sustainability in the midterm, long term, as opposed to Jan Clynke's take, which is more focused on the short term and on recycling itself. So it's actually the 2-year anniversary of signing the MOU between NSEFI and Solar Power Europe, and I remember 1 year ago we were highlighting that it was the first anniversary, and I think we managed to double, or maybe even more than double, the work and the results in this cooperation in the past year. So in the first year, we developed a joint report on solar investment opportunities in India, which we launched at the EU booth of the Smart Utility Week last year in Delhi. And since then, we launched 2 additional important reports. One is the report on PV waste management, which we are talking about today, which was prepared together with NSEFI, Solar Power Europe, PV Cycle, the EU-India technical cooperation programs, with the technical cooperation programs valued support and also thanks to MNRE for the support to this report and this topic. I think it's very important to have also the support of of the Indian government and of course the Indian industry. And then the third report that we launched recently is the Indian edition of the Operation and Maintenance Best Practice Guidelines, also a shining example of bilateral cooperation between the EU and India. And this report was supported by the Indo-German Energy Forum. So we've been very busy in this cooperation in the past year, and thank you really, Subbu, and your team and your members for the great support and great collaboration. So. Having said that, let's also have a quick look at potential mid to long-term measures in order to enhance PV sustainability and facilitate PV waste management in India. Jan also mentioned on his last slide eco design and eco label, and these measures or these policies belong to a group of policies that we call sustainable product policies in Europe. And as said by Jan, the European Commission is currently finalizing a preparatory study, a sort of a feasibility study in Europe to evaluate the potential of these types of sustainable product policies in Europe, aimed at enhancing the efficiency, the repairability, dismantleability, circularity, durability, and these aspects of products, of PV, solar PV related products. So products including panels, inverters, and also systems. And actually, this has been quite a long process. It's normal for this preparatory study and this regulatory process to be quite long. Actually, the preparatory study in Europe was launched 4 years ago when I joined Solar Power Europe. This was one of the first files that I started working on, and the preparatory study is just being finalized now, which means that we have some scenarios on the types of and recommendations on the types of measures that could be implemented in Europe, but they haven't been implemented yet, and it will take another couple of years for these new types of measures to be implemented. And so let's have a look specifically at the types of measures we're talking about. So in terms of sustainable product policies, we are mainly talking about 4 types of measures, and actually these are also measures that we recommend in the study to consider for India in the midterm. But of course, this would be a separate, piece of work. So the 4 types of measures that we're talking about are: first, eco design; second, eco label; third, energy label; and fourth, green public procurement. And I won't go into the details. But the main difference between these measures are their approach, the way they are trying to enhance the sustainability and performance and recyclability of products. Whereas eco design is a sort of a minimum requirement. So it says that the worst, let's say 30%, are eliminated and cannot be put on the market. So that's eco design. Eco label is a sort of a label that distinguishes the best products. So it's a label that best products can use and showcase their excellence with, thereby motivating clients and customers to take the best type of product. So that's the difference between eco design and eco label. Now energy label is also an information based tool. So energy label can be used to inform the customers about the performance of the certain product, whether it's category A, or category B, category C, category D. And then GPP, what we call GPP, Green Public Procurement, is also an excellence-based approach. It's the parameters the Green Public Procurement uses are usually very similar to eco label, but it's an approach that basically state or governments can use to to include sustainability criteria in public tenders. And this was also one of the midterm recommendations that we could see in Jan's presentation, on the last slide of Jan's presentation. So these are 4 measures that are currently being evaluated in Europe. In Europe, the preparatory study concluded with the recommendation to go with eco-design, energy label, and green public procurement, and it will take, as said, another couple of years to introduce these measures. And I think that as a next step, once once a regulatory framework, policy framework has been introduced for PV waste management in India, this could be a next step to evaluate possibilities to enhance, to introduce sustainable product policies also in India. This can also contribute, of course, to better waste management, better repairability, better circularity overall in the solar PV sector in India. So, concluding my short statement, I would like to say that it has really been, reiterate that it has really been a pleasure working with you and your members, and also the team of the EU-India Technical Cooperation Program. Thanks for the support of the EU delegation and the MNRE as well. And we're very happy and very much looking forward to the next steps. Very open to work with you also on a concrete regulatory text for PV waste management in India, and we're of course looking forward to continuing exploring additional cooperation areas. I mean, as you know, we already have a lot of ideas, including working on best practices for engineering, procurement, and construction, hydrogen, of course, etc. So thank you very much for inviting me to speak at today's conference, and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Mate. I'm very happy that our cooperation in less than 2 years has yielded many good results. My next speaker, in fact, is the living testament of our cooperation. I have Mr. Sujoy Ghosh, who is the country head of India and APAC for First Solar. And he was just mentioning that they are also the founding members of Solar Power Europe. And coincidentally or fortunately, they are the founding members of NSEFI as well. So that shows the already existing vibrant relation between India and Europe. I would now like to request Mr. Ghosh to speak briefly on the manufacturer's perspective when it comes to PV waste management and recycling.
Thanks, Subbu. It's been an honor to be part of this launch of this report. First Solar takes sustainability as one of our core values, and we are perhaps the first module manufacturer globally to have an EP80 eco-label certified product, which we proudly sell in India too, by the way. So we would really welcome an opportunity to engage with you and with Solar Power Europe and with the MNRE to bring in our perspective in terms of what could work as you look at this very important topic of circularity of the supply chain and disposal of end-of-life PV modules. So happy to be here, and we really look forward to your cooperation with NSFEI on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ghosh. Before we conclude, I think we also have Mr. Heisz Doshi. Mr. Hiteshji, can you hear us? He is not there. Then I think we had a very good session. Before I conclude, I would like to specially acknowledge the support that we received from the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, without which this report would not have been a reality. Apart from the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, I would also like to specially acknowledge the kind of not only support would be an understatement, but the kind of encouragement and collaboration we received from the European Union delegation in India, be it Ms. Smita Singh or our good friend Edwin, and also not to forget Mr. Marek from IDOM, who was the person person figure who was responsible for this project. And I'm very happy that we completed this report in an accelerated timeline, and in less than a year, we are now looking at the next steps. And I hope this will just be the end of the beginning of the collaboration between India and EU. Like His Excellency Ambassador has mentioned, we are natural partners, and I think circular economy or working towards circular economy is something that will bring this partnership more closer. With this, I would again like to thank His Excellency Ambassador of European Union to India, Ugo Astuto, for joining this session. Shri Dinesh Jagdale, Joint Secretary, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India, for kindly gracing this occasion and launching the report. Not to forget the co-authors of the report, Mr. Clynke from PV Cycle, Heisz from Solar Power Europe, and of course myself. Thank you very much, and I hope all of you will have a very good day and a very good session, and looking forward to meeting all of you in person very soon. And thank you very much, Mr. Ghosh, for joining us on stage. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Now, before we leave, we would request Mr. Ghosh to give a memento to our moderator, Mr. Pulipaka. He's done a wonderful job. From the morning, he's been moderating. Much patience. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.